Have you heard the story? What happened to me on the water?
No, no.
Okay. I don't know if I
Please.
should do this or not.
Well, it's too late now.
All right. Yeah, it's too late now. We got to tell everybody. It's the top 50 cut, which is huge. I mean, a lot of people don't realize making the top 50 cut is $10,000.
Yeah.
Like, it's so much money. And I've been having such a bad year, so it's been a really big thing for me. But what happened on day two was I went out fishing. I had 4 fish in my live well. I caught my 5th keeper spotted bass. My biggest fish was a 2.5 pounder, which is a good one. Like on
Yep.
Smith Lake, that's a good fish. So I had a 2.5 pound fish in my live well. I caught my 5th keeper. I went to open my live well. My 2.5 pounder jumped out of the live well into the lake, and I'm talking about out of my Phoenix boat, directly out of the live well with a coal tag on it into the water.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it went in the water, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is terrible. It's my biggest fish. And it's still early. It's like 10 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I've still got a lot of day to fish, and the fish were biting towards the end of the day better anyway. So like but I was freaking out. I was really upset. So the fish jumped in the live well. Well, I got it on my live scope, and then directly, I mean, you know what I got to do? I got to find that fish with the coal tag on him, and I was following him around with my live scope, and I could see the fish with the coal tag sticking up above his head, you know, because it's got some flotation on it. I was using the
You're physically seeing it or seeing it on your live scope?
no, seeing on my live scope, but yeah. So I'm following this fish around, and I don't know, maybe 10 minutes or so. I'm following this fish around on live scope, and it's wanting to dig. It's digging. It's wanting to go deep, but it can't because I've got those Calcoast clip um, coal tags, and
Yep.
it's got a pretty good sized little float on it. So that fish, once it wears out, it starts to come up to the top. So that fish starts coming up to the top, and it gets to the surface. And so I run my trolling motor in my boat up to this fish, and every time I get close to it, it dives on me, and it goes down. And Dave, you know, like I'm just, I'm sick. I mean, I want to grab it with my hand. I know that's probably the right thing to do is to get it with my hand. So the fish goes down, it comes back up again. I get up close to it, it dives again. And I'm like, man, this is not good. I have got to get, and the first thing instinctively in my brain is I've got to get a bait when that cold tag comes up that I can stay back away from that fish and I can throw over there and I can snag my cold tag and I can get the fishing back in the boat. So the fish comes up. I picked up my Berkeley, whatever. Do you remember the
Is
cane
it a
walker? Okay,
cane walker?
it's the cane walker. So I pick up my cane walker because it's a really good bait to throw around spotted bass. It's silver. It's got like a straight
Oh,
crown
yeah.
body. And anyways, gotta have that tied on if you're on spotted bass. Anyways, so I fire it out there, one cast. I snag the cull tag. I bring it into the boat. I get my 2.5 pounder back and I put it in the live well. Well, I had a marshal with me. He was a young kid, and he, as I did too, I felt like it was a kind of a weird situation.
Yeah.
And he mentioned to me, he said, Joe, you should call the tournament director. And I said, yep, absolutely, let's do it. So I called Lisa. She's the tournament director, and she gets Chris Bowman on the phone.
Chris Bose.
Or Chris Bose. I'm sorry, not Bowman. Gets Chris Bose on the phone, and they tell me I have to throw the fish back. There's no rule for what I did. There is no rule in Bassmaster history that he said. There's no rule to it. There's nothing has ever happened to that extent. Now, if I would have grabbed Chris told me on the phone, he said, Joe, if you'd have grabbed it with your hand, we would have gave you that fish. But there's still no rule, so they're going to have to add a Joey Cifuentes cowboy rule to the Bassmaster lineup of thousands and thousands of rules um, to this certain situation. And listen, there's been so many situations throughout this year that's been just like that, just not gone my way. It's been tough, and it's been hard. It's been a hard year, but dude, I'm thankful. Like I said, Dave, I'm nothing against bass. Like they have to make the call, and it's a new rule thing. Like they got to do what they got to do. Now, should I have kept the fish? There's no rule. The rule they applied it to was if you casted, you hung a fish, you broke your line, you can only use that. Yeah, you can only use same rod to try and dip in there and get the rod or get the line and bring it in. That's what they applied to me. That puts me in the cut. Now, does that change my season and put me in the Bassmaster Classic? No, it's not. But still, it's just been one of those years, Dave. But we all go through tough times in life. Like, and let me make something clear. This is a bass fishing tournament. This is not a tough time in life. Like, I, my family and the things that are close to me are most important. The bass fishing tournaments don't mean anything to me. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like they really don't. Like I could care less if this is the last time we ever make a podcast together and Joey Cifuentes is done for fishing bass tournaments, that's fine with me. I will go live my life happily and spend the time with my family and have a great time. But it's just been a rough year. It's been a rough year.
Well, dude, great perspective.